My wife texted, "I'm going to Europe. You deal with the kid, don't argue," then left me with our 1-year-old. For a month, when she came back, she had no idea what was waiting for her. Sup Reddit. So my wife abandoned me and our baby for a month-long European trip she'd been secretly planning since before our daughter was even born. I, 46 male, met my wife Celia, 35 female, at a restaurant in Broad Ripple 8 years ago. She was 27, working some office job downtown, laughing with her friends. I was 38, just got the supervisor position at the plant, grabbing food with the guys after a long week. We dated for 2 years, got married at the courthouse. No big wedding. She wanted to save for a house. I didn't care either way. It worked. We worked. Or I thought we did. When she got pregnant, I was terrified. 45 and about to be a first-time dad, felt like starting a marathon at mile 20. But Celia seemed excited. Talked about nursery colors and baby names and all the stuff I didn't know mattered until it did. Then Zoe was born, and something changed. Celia went back to work after 3 months. Started spending more time with her college friends. Started talking about losing herself and needing space to breathe. I thought it was normal new parent stuff. Adjustment. Stress. Turns out it was exit planning. I was in the middle of replacing a busted hydraulic line when my phone started vibrating in my pocket. February in Indiana, freezing my butt off in the maintenance bay. And I almost didn't answer. "Ronan, I'm at the airport." Celia's voice had that edge to it. The one that meant she'd already made a decision, and my opinion was just background noise. I pulled the phone away from my ear, looked at the screen like it was broken, put it back. "What airport?" "Indianapolis. My flight board's in 40 minutes. I stood there holding a wrench, oil dripping onto my steel toes, trying to process what I was hearing. "Where's Zoe?" "Daycare. You need to pick her up by 6. Something clicked. The late nights, the girls' dinners that ran past midnight, the way she'd been pulling away for months. This wasn't a vacation. This was an escape. "How long?" 5 weeks, maybe a little more. I checked my watch. 3 hours until daycare closed. Shift didn't end until 5. "We're done," I said. "What?" "You heard me. Don't come back expecting a marriage. I'll have divorce papers ready." "Ronan, you're being—" I hung up. Stood there in the maintenance bay holding my phone, watching oil drip onto concrete. Kenny walked over. "Everything good?" "My wife just got on a plane to Europe. Left our daughter at daycare." Kenny's face changed. "Man, how long?" 5 weeks. But she's not coming back to a home. I'm filing." "You sure?" "Yeah. I'm done playing backup to her main character nonsense." Kenny looked at the busted machine, looked at his watch. "Go. We'll cover it." I grabbed my coat and drove. I made it to Little Sprouts at 5:47. The daycare worker had Zoe on her hip, the last kid there as usual. "Cutting it close, Mr. Ronan," she said, not mean. "Just tired." "Yeah, sorry." I took Zoe, who immediately grabbed my coat with sticky fingers. "My wife's gone. Won't be back. It's just us now." Her face changed. The look women give when they know exactly what happened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." "I'm not." I shifted Zoe on my hip. "Might be late sometimes while I figure this out." "We'll work with you." I carried Zoe to the truck. She was babbling nonsense, happy just to see me. Didn't know her mom had just bailed without saying goodbye. My phone buzzed before I even got out of the parking lot. Celia, a photo of the airport terminal. Her hand holding a coffee cup with perfect nails. Caption, "Finally free." I took a screenshot. Evidence folder started right there. Put the phone face down and drove home. The apartment felt different when we walked in. Quieter, like the air had cleared. I set Zoe in her playpen and stood in the kitchen making a mental checklist. Lawyer, custody paperwork, bank accounts. This wasn't my first rodeo. I'd seen enough guys at work get destroyed in divorces because they waited too long. Not me. My phone buzzed again. A photo. Celia and 3 other women at the gate, all holding boarding passes like lottery tickets. No message this time. Just the photo. I looked at Zoe. She was chewing on a stuffed animal, watching me with those big, trusting eyes. Right there, standing in my kitchen at 6:30 on a Tuesday, I made a series of decisions. First, opened my phone and turned off notifications for her messages. Didn't block her. Needed to see what she said. Evidence. Second, opened a new contact. Someone I hadn't talked to in over a year. Evelyn, Celia's cousin. The one Celia couldn't stand because Evelyn made everything about herself and never knew when to shut up. Translation. Evelyn called Celia on her garbage, and Celia hated it. I typed, "Hey, long shot, but I need help. Celia just left for Europe without warning. filing for divorce. Or, I've got Zoe solo for 5 weeks. Any chance you know anything about babies? Sent it before I could second guess. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Ronan, it's Evelyn. Hey, what the heck do you mean she left? So I told her. The whole thing. The phone call. The airport. The divorce decision. Evelyn was quiet for a second. Then, thank God you're not being a doormat about this. Not my style. Good. Where are you right now? Home. Trying to figure out what to feed Zoe. Don't move. I'm coming over. Evelyn, you don't have to. Shut up. I'm already in my car. She hung up. 20 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. Evelyn looked exactly like I remembered. Early 30s, blonde hair in a ponytail, wearing scrubs because she worked as an ER nurse and probably came straight from a shift. She walked in, saw Zoe, and her whole face changed. Oh my God, she's huge. Evelyn scooped Zoe up like it was nothing. Hi, baby girl. Baby. Remember cousin Evelyn? Probably not. Your mom made sure of that. Zoe stared at her, then smiled. See? Evelyn looked at me. Kids know who actually shows up. She set Zoe down and looked around the apartment. Okay, first things first. When did she eat last? Daycare gave her lunch? Ronan, that was 6 hours ago. Right, yeah. I was gonna... Evelyn held up a hand. Stop. I'm not judging. You just got ambushed. But we need to get her fed and on a schedule or you're gonna lose your mind. She opened the fridge. Frowned. Opened the cabinets. Frowned harder. You have nothing. There's some jarred stuff. From when? The Bush administration? Evelyn pulled out her phone. I'm ordering groceries. You're paying me back. For the next 2 hours, Evelyn taught me things I should have already known. How to actually feed a toddler. What food doesn't suck. How to do bath time without flooding the bathroom. How to get Zoe down without a 3-hour fight. She wrote a quick routine on a sticky note and stuck it to the fridge. Feed, bath, books, bed, don't remix it. By 9:30, Zoe was asleep, and I was sitting on the couch feeling like I'd run a marathon. Evelyn handed me a bottle of water. You're gonna need to stay hydrated. Thanks. All right. I'm gonna swing by twice a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays after my shift. But you need to figure this stuff out yourself too. I'm not your permanent backup. I know. Good. Because I'm doing this for Zoe. She grabbed her bag. And because I'm glad you're finally seeing Celia for what she is. Yeah. Took long enough. She paused at the door. You really filing? Already got a lawyer consult scheduled for Friday. Evelyn smiled. Good. Don't let her gaslight you when she gets back. Not planning on it. She left. I locked the door behind her and sat in the quiet apartment. For the first time all day, I felt like I was actually in control. The first 2 weeks blurred together. Zoe woke up every night, sometimes twice, sometimes 4 times. I learned to function on 4 hours of sleep, cook eggs one-handed, change diapers in under a minute. The routine was military. Up at 6, Zoe fed and dressed by 7, daycare drop-off by 7:30, work until 5, pickup, dinner, bath, bedtime fight, collapse by 10. Repeat. But I wasn't just surviving. I was documenting. After the first late pickup, the daycare worker gave me a look. Not mean, just knowing. You're really doing this solo. For now. Won't be solo forever. Just permanently single. She almost smiled. Good for you. That night, I grabbed a cheap spiral notebook from Dollar General. Started writing stuff down. Dates, times, every expense. Every message Celia sent. February 7th, Zoe awake 4 times. Fever 101.1. Gave Tylenol. Celia sent 3 photos of Santorini sunset. No response when I told her Zoe was sick. February 11th, Zoe ear infection. Urgent care 3 a.m., $140 copay. Bank shows $1,247 hotel charge. Santorini. By week 2, the notebook was filling up fast. Evelyn came by twice that week. Brought groceries the first time, brought takeout, and a reality check the second. You see Celia's Instagram? Deleted that app. Smart. Evelyn showed me anyway. Photos of Celia in Rome. The Colosseum. Some fancy restaurant. Her and her friends holding glasses. Every caption was about finding herself or living authentically. Not one mentioned Zoe. She's gonna regret this, Evelyn said quietly. Maybe. Don't really care either way. Evelyn looked at me. You're handling this better than I expected. Because I'm not sitting around hoping she comes back. I'm building a case. Good. Keep that energy. One night during week 2, Zoe had an ear infection. Woke up screaming at 2 a.m. Fever of 101. Wouldn't stop crying no matter what I did. I called Evelyn at 2:30. Ronan, what's wrong? Zoe's burning up and I don't know what to do. Give her Tylenol. I'll be there in 15 minutes. She showed up in sweatpants and a jacket, hair in a messy bun, carrying a medical bag. Checked Zoe's ears with one of those light things. Yeah, ear infection. You need to take her to urgent care. Now? Unless you want it to get worse. So at 3 a.m., I drove to the 24-hour urgent care with Zoe screaming in the back seat and Evelyn following in her car. We sat in the waiting room for 40 minutes. Zoe finally passed out against my chest, hot and sweaty. Evelyn bought me coffee from the vending machine. It tasted like burnt rubber, but I drank it anyway. You don't have to stay, I said. Where else am I going to be at 3 a.m.? She shrugged. Besides, someone's got to make sure that kid doesn't end up in the ER every week. They called Zoe's name. Antibiotics and a $140 copay later, we left. I got home at 5 a.m., had to be at work in 3 hours. Put Zoe down. She finally fell asleep. I opened my laptop. The Santorini hotel charge was still bugging me. I pulled up our shared email and typed flight confirmation in the search bar. The inbox basically confessed. September 15th, flight confirmations. Hotel bookings. A whole 35-day itinerary, start to finish. September. Zoe was born in January. Celia had booked this trip while she was pregnant. Had the whole thing planned. Just never mentioned it until she was at the airport with her bags packed. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to my lawyer's email with the subject line, additional evidence. Then I opened my notebook. Day 11, Zoe ear infection. Urgent care 3 a.m., $140 copay. Evelyn helped. Celia still no contact about Zoe's health. Bank shows $1,247 hotel charge. Santorini. Found flight confirmations in email. She booked this trip in September while pregnant. Always planned to leave. I closed the notebook and stared at the ceiling. Best decision I ever made was telling her we were done on that phone call. No hesitation. No second guessing. Just done. Week 3 started with a phone call I wasn't expecting. My phone rang at 7:30 p.m. Celia. I'd stopped answering her calls 2 weeks ago. Let them go to voicemail. But tonight Zoe was asleep and I was feeling generous. Documentation purposes. Hello? Ronan, hi. Her voice was different, softer, almost tentative. I miss you guys. Zoe's asleep. Oh, pause. How is she? Fine. Ear infection last week. Antibiotics cleared it up. Long silence. I didn't know that. I know. I texted you. You were too busy posting sunset photos to respond. That's not fair. What do you need, Celia? Her voice got tighter. I need you to stop being hostile. You're making me feel guilty for taking care of myself. I'm not making you feel anything. I'm taking care of Zoe and preparing divorce papers. Silence. Then, you're serious about that? Dead serious. You made your choice at the airport. I made mine in the parking lot. Ronan, we can work through this. No, we can't. You planned this trip while you were pregnant and never told me. That's not a rough patch. That's a strategy. How did you... She stopped. You went through my email? Our shared email. The one we use for bills. Yeah. That's a violation of privacy. And abandoning your kid isn't? I could hear her breathing. Fast. Angry. When I get back, we're going to talk about this like adults. No. When you get back, you're going to talk to my lawyer. I'll be busy with Zoe. You can't seriously... Gotta go. Zoe's up. Zoe was still asleep, but Celia didn't need to know that. I hung up, opened my notebook and wrote. Day 17. Celia called, tried to guilt me about being hostile, told her divorce was happening. She got defensive about me finding the email evidence. Call lasted 3 minutes. I stared at the phone, then opened my banking app. The joint account showed another $420 ATM withdrawal. Rome, this time. That was on top of the hotels, restaurants, shopping. I did the math. Over $4,200 in 3 weeks. I opened a new tab and set up a separate checking account. Individual. My name only. Took 10 minutes. Then, I called the bank's 24-hour line and had my paycheck direct deposit switched to the new account effective immediately. The joint account would still cover bills. Rent, utilities, Zoe's daycare. I'd transfer money for those. But Celia wasn't getting another dime of my paycheck for spa days and tours. I took screenshots of everything. The new account, the transfer confirmations, the joint account balance and every charge, added it all to my evidence folder. I looked at Zoe, still sleeping. No idea her dad had just cut off her mom's funding. And I felt nothing but satisfaction. 3 days later, my phone lit up with a message from a number I didn't recognize. A photo. Celia and some guy, sitting close at a restaurant table, his hand on her thigh, her laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. Then another text from the same number. Thought you should know what your wife's really doing in Greece. Ashley, one of Celia's friends from the trip. From the one Celia always complained about being too dramatic. Guess she had a conscience after all. I stared at the photo, felt my jaw get tight. Then I screenshot it, sent it to my lawyer with a 3-word email. Exhibit D adultery. Opened my notebook. Day 20. Received photo from Celia's friend Ashley. Shows Celia with another man in Greece. Intimate contact. Forwarded to lawyer. I set the phone down and looked at Zoe playing on the floor. Your mom's a real piece of work, kid. Zoe threw a block at me and giggled. Yeah, we were going to be just fine. Work started falling apart around day 22. Kenny pulled me into his office with a yellow warning slip. You've been late 4 times this month. Left early twice. Almost put your hand in the belt press yesterday. It won't happen again. That's what you said last week. Kenny leaned back. Look, I get it. Single dad, it's rough. But I got 40 guys on this floor. I'm not asking for exceptions, just understanding while I handle this divorce. Kenny's face changed. Divorce? I thought she was just traveling. She was. With another man. Found that out 3 days ago. Man. Yeah. So I'm getting everything lined up legally. Should stabilize in a couple weeks. Kenny looked at the warning slip. Looked at me. You got 2 weeks. After that, I can't protect you. Fair enough. I took the slip. Walked out. That night, I called Kyle. I need work, side jobs, whatever you got. I got a deck rebuild in Greenfield. Weekends. Pays under the table. I'll take it. I showed up Saturday. Made $200 for 6 hours of work while Kyle's wife watched Zoe. Celia spent another $800 that same weekend. The math wasn't complicated. She was burning through money while I was building my case. Perfect. Day 25. Celia FaceTimed at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. I answered with the camera pointed at Zoe. Hi, baby. Celia's voice went high in sing-song. Hi, Zoe, it's Mommy! Zoe looked at the screen, tilted her head like she was trying to place a stranger. Celia's face was different, softer, tanned. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. Zoe? Sweet girl, it's Mama. Do you remember Mama? Zoe reached for the phone like it was a toy. I saw Celia's throat move. She blinked hard. She's gotten so big, Celia whispered. Ronan, she's so big. Yeah, kids grow when you're not around. Can you hold the phone closer? I just want to see her face. I moved the phone. Zoe grabbed for it, got distracted by something on the floor, crawled away. Celia made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. God, I miss her. That's what happens when you abandon your kid for a European vacation with your boyfriend. Silence. How did you... Ashley sent me photos. Real cozy ones. Celia's face went white, then red. That girl had no right, and you had no right to cheat. But here we are. It's not what you think. I don't care what it is. My lawyer does, though. Adultery looks real bad in custody cases. Ronan, please, enjoy the rest of your trip. I'm done talking. I hung up. Zoe had already forgotten the screen existed. She was playing with blocks, completely content. I opened my notebook. Day 25, Celia FaceTimed. Confronted her about cheating. She tried to deny, then got defensive. Call lasted 4 minutes. Zoe didn't recognize her. The phone started buzzing. Celia calling back. I declined it, then blocked her number. She wanted to play games? Fine. I was playing for keeps. The lawyer's office was in a strip mall between a vape shop and a tax place. Professional enough. I walked in with my notebook, a folder of bank statements, and the photos Ashley had sent. My lawyer looked like she'd seen this story 100 times. 50s. Short hair. Reading glasses on a chain. She flipped through my documentation like she was reading a grocery list. You kept good records. Yeah. And she's still in Greece? Gets back in 9 days. My lawyer set down the notebook. Ronan, I can file emergency custody right now. Judge might grant it before she even lands. What are my odds? With this evidence? Abandonment, adultery, financial irresponsibility while you maintained stable care? She tapped the photos. Better than good, especially with the cheating. Indiana's not a pure no-fault state. Judges still care about this stuff. Then file it. Retainers $2,500. I pulled out the cash from Kyle's deck job, plus my last paycheck. Done. She counted it. I'll have papers filed by Monday. Hearings probably Wednesday or Thursday. She's gonna lose it when she finds out. Let her. You documented everything. She documented her vacation. My lawyer smiled, sharp. This is the easiest case I've had all month. I walked out feeling like I'd just loaded a gun and knew exactly where to aim. The hearing got scheduled for Friday, 2 days before Celia's flight landed. I wore my one decent button-down. My lawyer met me outside the courtroom, looking calm as ever. You ready? Yeah. Remember, answer the questions. Don't volunteer information. Let me handle the legal stuff. We walked in. The courtroom smelled like old wood and stress. The judge was a woman in her 60s. Reading glasses, no patience for nonsense. Mr. Ronan, you're petitioning for emergency custody of Zoe, 13 months old. Yes, Your Honor. And your wife is currently where? Greece. Her flight lands Sunday. The judge's eyebrow raised. How long has she been gone? 33 days. And you were aware of this trip? Found out when she called from the airport. Told me I had to pick up our daughter from daycare in 3 hours. The judge's face tightened. Continue. My lawyer stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Ronan abandoned her family for a pre-planned European vacation she booked while pregnant. Mr. Ronan has documentation of 33 days of solo parenting, while Mrs. Ronan spent over $9,000 on personal expenses and engaged in an extramarital affair. She handed over my notebook, the bank statements, the photos Ashley sent. The judge flipped through everything. Slow. Careful. Her jaw got tighter with every page. Mr. Ronan, what's your work situation? Shift supervisor at a packaging plant. I've used all my sick time and got a warning for missed shifts, but I'm managing. Who's been caring for Zoe while you work? Daycare during the day. I've been doing everything else. Nights, weekends, medical appointments. Her cousin Evelyn has helped twice a week. Has your wife contacted you during this time? 4 times. 3 calls I ignored for evidence purposes. 1 FaceTime where Zoe didn't recognize her. The judge set down the file, looked at the photos again. I'm granting emergency custody to Mr. Ronan effective immediately. Full custody. Heck yeah, brother. She's gonna lose her mind when she finds out. That's the idea. You need help changing the locks? Already called a locksmith. Meeting him in an hour. You're a cold dude, Ronan. I love it. I hung up and drove home. The locksmith showed up at 2 o'clock. Charged me $150 to swap out the deadbolt and rekey the knob. When he finished, I stood there holding 2 new keys. One for me, 1 spare for Evelyn. None for Celia. I started packing her stuff Saturday morning. Not throwing it out, just moving it. Being smart about it. Clothes, shoes, makeup. All the decorative stuff she'd bought that served no purpose except looking good for Instagram. Took me 4 hours. When I finished, I had 6 boxes stacked by the door, and the apartment looked different. Cleaner. Less cluttered. More like a home for a dad and his daughter. Zoe watched me from her playpen. Dada? Yeah, kid. Daddy's cleaning house. She threw her stuffed elephant at me and laughed. I picked it up and tossed it back. And I caught myself smiling. This was gonna be good. Sunday afternoon hit different. I'd fed Zoe early. Got her in clean clothes. Had the custody order sitting on the kitchen table in a folder with yellow tabs marking every important page. The boxes of Celia's stuff were stacked by the door. At 4:30, I heard a car pull up outside, watched through the window as Celia got out. Tan. Rested. Hair perfect. Rolling a designer suitcase behind her like she'd just won something. She came up the steps, pulled out her key, stuck it in the lock. Nothing. Tried again. Her face went from confusion to anger in about 3 seconds. Then she saw me through the window. Ronan? Muffled through the glass. Why isn't my key working? I walked to the door but didn't open it. Because I changed the locks. Her face went blank. What? You heard me. Why the heck would you change the locks? Read this. I held up the folder so she could see the court seal. Celia squinted. Then her eyes went wide. Did you file emergency custody? Granted Friday. Divorce papers are being served next week. You want in? You schedule it through my lawyer. Her mouth fell open. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? She's my daughter. Then you should have acted like it. And you definitely shouldn't have been with some guy in Greece while I was handling ear infections at 3 a.m. Celia's face went white. How did you... Ashley. Guess she felt guilty watching you destroy your family. The neighbor's door cracked open. A woman from 3B watching. Celia noticed and lowered her voice. Ronan, please, let me in. We can talk about this. Nothing to talk about. Your stuff's in boxes. I'll leave them outside. I need to see Zoe. Schedule it through my lawyer. Her number's in the paperwork. Celia's face cycled through emotions. Shock, anger, panic. You filed for custody while I was out of the country? You left the country after planning a 5-week vacation with your boyfriend. Seemed fair. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then she pulled out her phone. Started scrolling. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. She did. Right there on the porch. Voice shaking. 10 minutes later, a patrol car showed up. Young cop. Looked annoyed to be here. What's going on, folks? Celia launched into it. He changed the locks while I was traveling. I can't get into my own apartment. The cop looked at me. Sir? I handed him the folder. Emergency custody order, signed Friday. Grants me exclusive use of the residence. Divorce filing happens next week. He read it. Slow. Careful. Then looked at Celia. Ma'am, this is a valid court order. That doesn't mean he can lock me out. Actually, it does. The cop handed the folder back. You need to contact your lawyer. This is civil, not criminal. Celia looked like she might cry. Or scream. Maybe both. This isn't over, Ronan. You're right. It's not. You still have to explain to Zoe why you picked a vacation with your boyfriend over being her mother. Her face crumpled. The cop cleared his throat. Ma'am, you need to leave the property. She grabbed her suitcase and yanked it toward the stairs. Nearly tripped. Caught herself. You're going to regret this. Nope. Best decision I ever made. She left. Tires screeching out of the lot. The cop looked at me. You good? Yeah, just protecting my daughter. He nodded and left. I locked the door. Deadbolt and chain. Carried Celia's boxes outside and left them on the curb. Zoe was on the floor playing like nothing happened. I sat down next to her, hands steady as a rock. Daddy handled it, I said. Zoe threw a block at me and giggled. Yeah, we were good. Celia hired a lawyer within 48 hours, filed an emergency motion to vacate the custody order, claimed I'd manipulated the court, that she had permission to travel, that I was vindictive and controlling, didn't mention the boyfriend. Smart. My lawyer called me at work. We've got a hearing scheduled next Tuesday. What are my chances? Excellent. She's going to have to explain the photos, and the spending, and why she never mentioned this trip until she was boarding a plane. The hearing was in the same courtroom, same judge. This time Celia showed up, with her lawyer, and an attitude. She wore a conservative dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, coached on looking sympathetic. The judge walked in. We stood. We're here on Mrs. Ronan's motion to vacate the emergency custody order. You may proceed. Her lawyer stood up. Smooth. Practiced. Your Honor, my client is a devoted mother who took a much-needed mental health break. The court's decision was made without her ability to defend herself. The court's decision was made based on documented abandonment and adultery, my lawyer interrupted. Mrs. Ronan chose to leave the country for 35 days with minimal contact to her infant daughter. She also engaged in an extramarital affair during this trip. She handed over the photos Ashley sent. The courtroom got quiet. The judge studied them, then looked at Celia. Mrs. Ronan, are these photos accurate? Celia's face went red. Your Honor, I was going through a difficult time. Are these photos accurate? Yes, but... And when did you inform your husband of this trip? Celia shifted in her seat. The morning I left. From the airport? Yes, Your Honor. The judge made a note. Her face could have been carved from stone. Continue. Her lawyer tried every angle. Mental health, postpartum recovery, the importance of self-care. My lawyer let him talk, then stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to submit additional evidence. She handed over my notebook, the bank statements, phone records showing Celia had called exactly 4 times in 5 weeks. Mrs. Ronan spent over $9,000 on personal expenses, while Mr. Ronan exhausted his sick leave, received a warning at work, paid for all medical care out of pocket, and maintained consistent, stable care for their daughter. The judge read my notebook, front to back. When she looked up, her expression said everything. The motion is denied. Temporary custody stands. Mrs. Ronan can petition for supervised visitation. This court will reconvene for final custody determination in 6 months. Celia's face crumbled. My lawyer leaned over. You won. Yeah, I know. We walked out into the early spring air. Celia stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps, arms wrapped around herself. Her lawyer was talking to her. She wasn't listening. I walked past her toward the parking lot. Ronan. I stopped. Didn't turn around. I didn't think you'd actually do this to me. I turned. Looked at her like she was a stranger. Because she was. Do what? Weaponize the courts. Punish me for trying to take care of my mental health. She shook her head. I defended you to my friends. They told me you'd use Zoe against me, and I said no. Ronan's not like that. I didn't use Zoe. I protected her from someone who planned to abandon her before she was even born. 5 weeks. I needed 5 weeks. With your boyfriend. Spending $9 grand. While I was buying generic diapers and handling medical emergencies alone. Her hands were shaking. You filed while I was out of the country so I couldn't defend myself. You changed the locks. You made me look like a monster. No, you did that yourself. I just documented it. You could have supported me. Support you? I laughed. Cold. You called me from the airport and told me to deal with it. That's not asking for support. That's abandonment. Celia's face twisted. I can't believe you turned into this. I didn't turn into anything. I just stopped being your backup plan. I walked to my truck. She stayed on those steps, still believing she'd done nothing wrong. Didn't matter. I had Zoe. I had custody. I had proof. And she had exactly what she'd asked for. Freedom. Zoe turned 19 months old. We had a party at the apartment. Kyle and his wife brought wings. Evelyn stopped by between shifts with a stuffed animal bigger than Zoe. Kenny from work showed up with a case of soda and some joke about me finally getting my life together. A few other guys from the plant. The neighbor from 3B even brought cookies. And Hazel was there. Hazel, the ER nurse who'd covered Evelyn's shift one night when Zoe spiked another fever. Brunette. Sharp sense of humor. Didn't take my nonsense. We'd been dating for exactly 4 weeks and I wasn't trying to rush anything. She was in the kitchen cutting cake when Zoe toddled over and grabbed her leg. Up! Zoe demanded. Hazel scooped her up like it was nothing. You're the birthday girl. You get whatever you want today. Evelyn watched from across the room and gave me a look. The look that said, don't screw this up. I wasn't planning on it. The apartment was packed. Music playing from my phone. Zoe's Paw Patrol decorations everywhere. People laughing. It felt normal. Like life had finally stopped punishing me for existing. Then someone knocked on the door. Heavy. Urgent. I opened it and there she was. Celia. She looked different. Thinner. Hair not as perfect. Wearing jeans and a sweater that looked slept in. Mascara smudged under her eyes like she'd been crying. Ronan. Hi. I stood in the doorway. Didn't move. What are you doing here? I heard it was Zoe's birthday. I wanted to see her. Your visit's Tuesday. This isn't Tuesday. I know, but she looked past me into the apartment. Saw the people. The cake. Zoe on Hazel's hip. Her face changed. Who's that? None of your business? Celia's voice got louder. You're letting some random woman hold my daughter? Hazel's not random, and Zoe seems fine with it. Hazel must have heard her name because she walked over with Zoe. Calm. Professional. Everything okay? Celia's eyes went wide. You're replacing me? Already? Replacing you? I laughed. Cold. You replaced yourself when you got on that plane. Hazel's just someone who actually shows up. Celia's face crumpled. Ronan, please. Can we talk? Just for a minute? No. Please. I need to explain. You had 5 weeks to explain, and 6 months of court hearings. I'm done listening. I made a mistake, okay? I was scared and stupid, and I messed up everything, but I want to fix it. Can't fix what's already settled. Divorce is final. Custody's final. You get your 2 supervised visits a week and that's it. Ronan, I'm begging you. Then stop. You look pathetic. Her face went red, then white. She looked at Hazel holding Zoe, looked at the party inside, the life I'd built without her, and something inside her broke. This is all her fault, Celia said, voice shaking, pointing at Zoe. The room went silent. Excuse me? I said. If I hadn't gotten pregnant, if I didn't feel like garbage about myself for 9 months, if I didn't have to give up my body and my life for a baby I wasn't ready for, none of this would have happened. Hazel's face went hard. She turned Zoe away, shielding her. I stepped forward, voice low, controlled. Say that again. Celia was crying now. Full breakdown. I was 27 when I met you. I had plans. I had a life. Then I got pregnant and everything changed, and I felt trapped and ugly, and I needed to feel like myself again. So you abandoned your kid and got with some guy in Greece? I needed to remember who I was before I became a mom. You want to blame someone for your choices? Blame yourself. Don't you dare put that on Zoe. She ruined everything. Celia's voice cracked. Ugly crying now. Makeup running. If she hadn't been born, we'd still be happy. I grabbed the door. Get out. Ronan, please, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. And now everyone here knows exactly who you are. I looked at her, dead in the eyes. You blame a baby for your own failures. That's the kind of mother you are. Celia reached for me. I stepped back. Don't ever come to my home uninvited again. Don't call. Don't text. You get your supervised visits and that's it. We're done. Please, Kyle, get her out of here. Kyle appeared behind me. Big guy. Arms crossed. You heard him. Time to go. Celia looked around. At the people watching. At Hazel holding Zoe. At the life she'd thrown away. She backed toward the stairs. Stumbling. You'll regret this, she said, voice broken. When Zoe asks about me, you'll regret keeping me away? Zoe won't ask. She doesn't even remember you between visits. I stepped into the doorway. And after what you just said, I'm filing to terminate those 2. Celia's face went blank. You can't... Watch me. You just told a room full of witnesses that our daughter ruined your life. Think a judge is going to want you around after that? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Kyle walked her down the steps, made sure she got to her car. I closed the door, locked it, deadbolt and chain, turned around. Everyone was staring. Hazel handed Zoe to Evelyn and walked over. You okay? Yeah, better than okay. She kissed me. Quick. Solid. Good, because that woman's out of her mind. Kenny raised his soda can. To Ronan, for not taking garbage from anyone. Everyone raised their drinks. I looked at Zoe. She was playing with Evelyn's hair, completely unbothered. Didn't know her mom had just imploded on the front porch. Didn't care, because kids don't remember the people who leave. They remember who stays. I walked over and took Zoe from Evelyn, held her up. Happy birthday, kid! Zoe laughed and grabbed my face with sticky frosting hands. Hazel came over and stood next to us, not forcing anything, just there. And it hit me. This was what normal looked like. Not perfect, not complicated, just real. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.